Hello, and you're all very welcome along to Tipp GAA TV's Championship programme. Today, we're going to take a quick look back at Tipp's trip down to Páirc Uí Chaoimh and take a good look as Limerick come to FBD Simple Stadium this Sunday. So stay tuned and join me and our guests as we take a look at the games. So I'm delighted to be joined on the panel today by former Tipperary inter-county players Eamon Corcoran and David Kennedy, and the man in the middle, Noel Dundon, who is no stranger to any of us at all either. So lads, thanks very much again for joining us here on Tipp GAA TV. So I suppose we'll get straight into it, lads. 4-19 to Cork, 2-25 to Tipperary. Eamon, when we spoke the last time, you were confident enough about the game. Maybe your thoughts on the game. What went right, what went wrong, and what will Liam Cahill be looking to change out of that game?
Yeah, I think Liam will be very happy overall with the performance. I think at the very end we were probably happy enough to take the draw when Declan Dalton stood over the free and the Cork crowd and the momentum was behind them. We were fortunate there, but before that I think we had great momentum. For me, it was great to see a number of the guys probably their second, like Johnny Ryan, I think it was his second championship match. Alan Tynan, midfielder, is probably the standout player on the day. So we got to see the guys in real championship action. And I think even the atmosphere down there, it felt like it was back in the early 2000s with the crowd. I was there with my young lad. I think all he wants to do is go watch Tipp matches again after that. And that's what you want. We're back actually supporting again. I know there's a huge buzz for the match on Sunday again, but I do think probably with the crowd that was there, the momentum with Cork, and to come out with the draw in the end showed the character that the guys had. When Mark stepped up and got the goal after they scored the goal, that was that bounce back ability we're looking for. But I think overall it was a great show from Tipperary. But I think both teams learned a lot from me. Cork, I probably questioned was there softness in Cork over the years when it's put up to them, but Pat Ryan, I think, and the backroom team, they've instilled a belief in that team, and they did come back at us, but we also saw that bounce back ability from Tipperary. So I'd say overall, happy to come out with a draw, but I'd say with 15 minutes to go, I thought we were going to take the victory.
Yeah, and David, for yourself, like I remember, after the game, just some of us standing around in the tunnel, and somebody said to Liam Cahill, that could be a very, very valuable point. I mean, while we didn't win, everybody wanted to win. We got the draw, and a point may well be very valuable.
Yeah, on great scheme of things, and you don't know how the other games going forward are going to pan out. But we'd expect all the matches from now on, this coming Sunday and the following Sunday against Waterford, we'd expect the results to be very, very tight. So points will be very, very hard won. And I think on the flip side of that, had Tipperary lost that game, having been, I was saying, control for long stretches of the game, had he lost that game, would have been a real disaster, a real downer. So it was absolutely imperative that Tipperary got something from that match. And look, while we welcome the draw and we'll take what we're given, I think a victory was well within our sights. But we could easily have lost it just as well, and that would have been unprecedented. I don't know how the Tipperary team would recover from that had we lost that. So look, we take what we're given. Páirc Uí Chaoimh is an incredibly hard venue to go down and to get a result from for any county, not just Tipperary. So to go down on a Saturday evening, and as Eamon says, the atmosphere was absolutely electric. It felt like the old days in the early 2000s, to go down to a very hostile environment and to pick something up against a very young, physical, forward-thinking Cork team. And with a lot of mileage on a lot of those Tipperary players' legs, I think was an excellent result, backed up by an excellent performance.
And Noel, I suppose if you look at it from a Cork point of view, will they feel that they left it behind them, or will they feel like, yeah, look, that's a point as well? So feel maybe like Tipperary, that it's a point we gained rather than a point we lost.
Yeah, I suppose it's difficult to know, Jonathan, but really and truly, when you look at a Cork situation, they dropped the point and now they have two away matches. They go to Ennis and then they go to Páirc na Gael. So two very, very difficult games for them to try and pick up something out of it. And I mean, it's interesting when you look at it that in a lot of these games so far, the home teams haven't necessarily come out on top. Waterford had a home venue here in Semple Stadium, which I suppose, right, it's not really a home venue, but that's the way things are this year. Limerick lost their home game to Clare. Clare lost their home game to Tipp. And Cork didn't win their home game to Tipp, right? They won their first one, okay. So, like, Cork would probably feel more or less on the back foot in comparison to Tipp, in the sense that while we both have 3 points after 2 games, Tipp have 2 home games to come, Cork have 2 home games away. So I would see their position being more difficult than Tipp's position right now.
And, we spoke about it as well. The concession of goals for Tipperary, there's 7 goals in 2 matches. That has to be a major concern for the management and I suppose a disappointment for the players. You know what I mean? Hasn't it, David? Eamon, you guys played in the backs. I mean, how do you improve on that? How do you make things better?
I think it's the nature of the goals that we've conceded into 2 games, the massive space between our midfielders and our full back line. I wouldn't fancy being Michael Breen in the full back line there the last day. A lot of one-on-one situations where he was up against Pádraig Horgan, very open areas in front of him. And the goal chances that were created before Cork actually got their goals, I mean, there was 2 or 3 opportunities for them to score the goals. Also going back to the weekend before against Clare, massive space in our back line, allowing the Clare players to, just run into the space. And it's very hard to defend when you're facing your own goals all the time. You can forgive a team for conceding a goal when the ball is dropped into the square and there's a loose pull or there's an overlap or something like that. But it's the openness of the Tipperary team that I think that we'll have to address before Limerick, because now you're coming up against a team like Limerick. Not only are they a huge physical team, but they're momentum going forward and the ball handling skills, and they are so utterly ruthless in front of goals that any opportunity, they very, very rarely waste an opportunity.
And I think you can play sweepers, but the nature of the game now, you're trying to stop the runners from the back line. Like you look at Limerick, the Kyle Hayes, the Barry Nashes, and we try to do that with Cork as well, stop the runners, and that's going to create space. And I look back to the first 10 minutes. Like we could concede 3 or 4 goals. Like we were wide open. And David's right. There was guys 1-on-1 there. I think one of the big changes for me in the game is wherever Noel McGrath, however he does it, I'll never know, because the game was 100 miles an hour and he seemed to slow it down to junior B pace. The way he just does things completely different to anyone else that I've ever seen. But he ended up probably back more in the half back line, and the gap was closing there. It allowed probably Brian O'Mara to step back and the guys step back, but Noel, after 15-20 minutes, seemed to be able to drift back and then pick the passes. But we can't let that happen again, because if that happened against Limerick, we conceded, was it 1 or 2 a goal early, but we should have conceded another 3 or 4. The game would have been out of sight. But it's something I'd say that they got to grips with after 15 minutes, but the game could have been out of sight.
No, as Eamon has said it, if that happens against Limerick, you're in big trouble.
Absolutely, Jonathan. Yeah. If Limerick get the foot on the throat, they won't let go. They'll suffocate you. That's the way they are. That's the way they go for the kill all the time. But on the positive side, maybe, look, a lot of people maybe would have been critical of the Tipp full backline because of the number of goals they're going in, but the problems don't necessarily lie with the full backline. It's coming from further out. But on the positive side, as Eamon says, when Noel McGrath got the grips of what was going on, I think Seamus Kennedy got 3 points in the first half from just under the big stand, the main stand in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. He had the whole of the flank to himself there, and Noel was able to pick him out for 2 of those passes. Certainly he gave him across the field, right over the field. And what I'm trying to say was that when Noel McGrath gets on the ball, he's able to see things that other people maybe don't see. That's one of the plus sides of having your sweeper there, that it allows the ball to get to the guy who can give that pass and do the damage. The problem from a Tipperary point of view in the Cork game was that, as the lads were saying, when Cork got the run on us, we were in trouble, and big trouble. If Limerick get the run on us, we'll be in big trouble too. But look, they've had a fortnight now to sort that out and to try and tie things down and maybe, try and put the shackles on the Limerick lads, which we'll have to do without a question.
Okay, and look, we look forward now to that game, and we have the team. The team has been named, so we'll just run through the team for the Limerick game. So the team is as follows: in goal, number 1, Rhys Shelley; full back line, number 2, Cathal Barrett; full back number 3, Michael Breen; and number 4, Ronan Maher. Half back line, number 5, Owen Connolly; number 6, Brian O'Mara; and number 7, Seamus Kennedy. Centre field pairing then of Dan McCormack and Alan Tynan. The half forward line then of Conor Stakelum, Patrick Bonner-Maher and Noel McGrath. And the Tipperary full forward line, Jake Morris, Garrod O'Connor and Mark Keogh. So that shows 4 changes then from the Cork game. Obviously, Jason Ford out through injury, so he wouldn't obviously have been in contention for a place in this game. But Noel, to start with yourself, as I said, 4 changes. How do you feel? I mean, are you surprised with some of the changes?
Yeah, I probably am, Jonathan, to be honest with you. 4 changes from a winning team. Obviously, one of them is in 4, so that's fair enough. But again, much like the Clare game and the Cork game, you wouldn't necessarily see them starting in those positions, you know. But the one thing that Liam Cahill and Michael Bevans and Pádraig Maher and TJ Ryan, Declan Laffin, the one thing that they're going to always look at is horses for courses. They'll pick the players that they think will match up against the opposition always. And I think that's probably what they've done here as well. Maybe trying to preempt what team Limerick are going to go with as well, you know, and we probably won't know until they actually line up to see where they're going to play to. But yeah, look, a few surprises. I mean, championship debut for Ree Shelley in goals. I think it's Owen Connolly's championship debut too. Could be mistaken that, but I think it is. It's certainly his starting debut. So, you know, Mark Keogh comes in on the strength of such a great impression when he came on the last day. Scored 1-4 and really took the game to Cork when he came in. So he gets his place. And Bonner Maher back at centre forward. I was a bit surprised that we hadn't seen him earlier in the championship, you know. But he's coming in there now, fresh and eager, and we all know what Bonner Maher can do. He probably won't do it for the full 70 minutes, but if he can give you 50 minutes at full tilt, it'll be well worth having him there, you know.
Yeah, and Eamon, is it like looking at? We'll just say we'll look at the forwards maybe. Do you think like that it's a case of going for strength?
Yeah, but when I look at the team, I think the numbers mean nothing here. Like, do I see Bonner starting at 11, Garrod starting full forward? Definitely, we're gone for physicality. What we said previously, we have to go toe-to-toe in the forward line. You can't let Barry Nash. I think Kyle Hayes starts centre forward. I could be wrong, but the runners there and they're half back lines. So we have to win the big battles up there. We can't let them run. I do think. I don't know. I think Noah could end up out midfield. Seamus Kennedy back up in the forward line. Dan McCormack back wing back. So I think there can be a lot of changes there. I think a big one, and it could be a game changer on Sunday. It's just a free taker. More than likely, we Garrod O'Connor, albeit 1 or 2 frees didn't go right from the last day. Like, he's 2 weeks to read. I think it's easier when you're started as a free taker. You're mentally ready to go. But Jason is a huge loss. Don't underestimate that. Like, I think he's probably become the most consistent free taker out there at the moment. Any free stands over. So it's going to be a big occasion for Garrod to step over the frees. But I do think, to give him his due, if he's starting on the frees, he's probably knows for the last 2 weeks. So he's going to mentally, I think he'll be ready for that. But I definitely think they've picked a team that physicality when we look right around it, because for me, I thought Johnny Ryan did quite well the last day. I mentioned him at the start. Did I see Owen Connolly coming in? Probably not. Bit surprised with Bonner Maher as well, because on the grounds that I thought we should have seen the last day. If he's starting today, could we have seen him for 10-15 minutes the last day? So he's probably been performing very well in training the last 2 weeks to get the start there. But definitely, I think we picked a team on physicality for the match.
Yeah, and David, I suppose, Ree Shelley coming into goal. I think Ree Shelley is a really, really, really fantastic goalie, and his ability to pick out somebody with a poke out or with a pass is phenomenal, really.
Oh yeah, look, he's definitely one of the top club goalkeepers on the Tipperary scene for the last 4 or 5 years. And look, I'm delighted to see Reece getting his opportunity now. I think he's been on the scene quite a while. He had suffered a serious enough injury earlier on in the year. I think he had a shoulder injury that could have been the end of his season. So it's brilliant to see him back. But it's a huge call by Liam and the management to start a new goalkeeper right bang into the middle of the championship season. Like, Barry Hogan did nothing wrong at all. He hasn't done anything wrong at all to warrant, from my point of view, to be dropped. So it's a big call from the management. And, you know, for the full back line and all the backs, when they're looking back and they look and there's a new goalkeeper in here, it does, I don't know, sometimes you'd be going, this is a big occasion for this young player. And this is a big occasion, starting your first championship match, but as a goalkeeper in the middle of the season. So it'll be very interesting to see how it plays out. Yeah, he's a great ball player. He has a tremendous strike of the ball in terms of distance. As one of his features in the club scene, is used as a weapon by McCarthy Burris. So it'd be interesting to see how he plays. I'm I'd be very confident in his own ability. He's a very confident player, and meetings we've had with him now, you'd know he's on the pitch. He's a big presence, big voice. He'll bring that attitude onto the county scene, and we need characters like Reese in amongst the group as well. And I think I'm intrigued by it, and I'm looking forward to seeing how he plays.
Yeah, and of course we wish him the very best.
Absolutely, yes.
I just said it is a big occasion, but sometimes players revel in the big occasion, revel in a challenge, and I'm sure I firmly believe that Reese will really revel in this opportunity to show his ability and his capabilities for Tipperary. Noel, your view on it, maybe?
Well, I think the first thing is that if the management didn't think that he was up to it, he wouldn't be there. They're watching him in training all the time. I've seen quite a bit of the training as well, and Rhys Shelley is flying it. But I suppose you don't tend to look at the goalkeeper too much because there's only one goalkeeper, and Barry Hogan had the position. In fact, it can be a very difficult position to be the understudy because you can be playing outstanding stuff, but it's very difficult to dislodge a goalkeeper. Tipper are in a very fortunate position that we have a keeper of the calibre of Rhys Shelley there. As David says, we've seen quite a bit of him on the club scene as well, and he won't lack for confidence. And I don't think that the full back line or the half back line or midfield or anything like that, I don't think they'll have any lack of confidence in him either. I think they know his capabilities and they've seen him in training. They're watching him, like I'm watching him in training, pinging balls out. He'd put the ball through the eye of a needle, which is very important. But maybe more important, he has a huge presence around the goals. And, if a guy comes in one-on-one with him, he'll come out and he'll try to do whatever he can to smother him. And he's often gotten injured doing it, but it doesn't stop him from doing it the next time. He's brave. And, it's a big call. It's a big call, all right. But I think the management team have decided give him his chance and see how he'll go, and they don't come much bigger than Limerick in Semple Stadium.
It's not a negative call. No, it's not a negative call. It's an exciting call, and it is brave, and it may be unexpected from all of us, but I think go for it. And I think it's very important that going forward, and I expect Tipp to progress out of Munster, that the guys like Reese and Owen Connolly have championship experience. If we are in the fortunate position to be in Croke Park later on in the year, that now we have guys, we have a squad who have championship experience, time under the belt, have the experience of a big occasion, because Sunday is going to be a huge occasion for all the players from both teams. They're going to have a 40,000 plus crowd, so this
like a Munster final.
It's an investment in their future as much as an investment in their present.
Yeah, and really, I suppose when you look at the four changes, it's probably a mark of the management team that they have always said, and I've listened to them myself at training and listened to them in the dressing room or whatever, you will be rewarded for what you do at training. You know what I mean? And this is obviously, Eamon, another sign that they are people of their word.
Yeah, and look, since Liam has come in fairness to him in the league, he's blooded an awful lot of players. He's brought in, he's made big calls. Like these are big calls. He could have been safe about this. The team the last day brought them through, but obviously what's going on in training that we don't see an awful lot of. He can see it. And sorry, the management team. You go down through the management team there. They're a brave management team. They've made the calls. Just see what they've done with this team so far this year. We look like completely different outfit from the last number of years. The confidence we're playing with, the speed we're playing with, the fitness levels. We're in a great place. But I just want to caveat that by saying, on Sunday there's probably a lot of talk if we beat Limerick and Limerick are gone. It's a huge game. Park all that and getting where we come in the championship. We need to beat Limerick. I just think from a mental point of view, the last number of years we haven't turned them over. We've got great starts against them. But the start of the second half in the last number of games, they've blown us away. So I just think whatever we do in the first half, I think everyone's going to be waiting for that next 5-10 minutes of the second half. So I think if we can change the mindset, we'll have a big year ahead. But Sunday is huge on all fronts, because if Limerick turn us over, and albeit we're going down to playing Waterford here, I just think it's going to be mentally it's going to be massive for us.
Yeah, and I actually had that down there, Tipperary in the last number of years, they have put it up to Limerick, but in the second half then seem to fade out of games. David, can you pinpoint any reasoning for that, or how do you kind of overcome that? Is it a mental thing, or what's maybe causes that? Obviously Limerick are a fantastic team, there's no question in that, but how can you maybe be on top of the things in the first half, and then what happens that you just kind of maybe the switch, not that the switch turns off, but something something happens and you just kind of, the other team gets on top of you, and then do you say to yourself, oh no, not again, or like what's the...
If I knew the answer to that, Jonathan, I'd be well paid. But I think a lot of teams, like the big sports clubs, the big sport, whatever it's GAA or rugby, the underdog always, they bust a gut to start off. Look at all those teams that have tried to topple Dublin in the football. Now we have the Limerick are now the Dublin of the hurling world now, let's say. And you look at Waterford the first round of the championship. They invested so much into that game, and it was a mental state for them going into it. And yet at half time there was only a score or two between it. And full well you have to go way beyond anywhere you've ever been. And this team will have to go somewhere they've never been to before. And I can appreciate a lot of the guys in this panel have All-Ireland medals and have gone to the well and what have you. But this Limerick team is a different animal that has been there for the last 10, 15 years. So yeah, there'll be a big emotional investment in this, hoping to get to half-time, being in it. And I often think back to that championship match we had down in Páirc Uí Chaoimh where we're 10 points up at half-time. And the pundits on RTE saying, Henry Shefflin said, there's no way they'll come back. And that lead was gone after 15 minutes. And I think that carries baggage. So Liam has a big job of work for him to do, and the management team, to get the mental state for this team to compete, then to reset at half-time and to compete again. Because there will be knockbacks and there will be changes and there will be scores conceded and chances missed and injuries and what have you. It's a huge battle. I don't know how they're going to do it. If they do it, and I believe they can do it, it'll be the crowning of this team. It could set this team up not just for this year, but for years going forward. Clare have done it. And you have to take a note how Clare have done it. Their absolute physicality was immense. And it just wasn't for the first 40 minutes. It was throughout. And they actually subdued Limerick all the way through the game. And Limerick, fair play to them, nearly came back and won it. So it'll be epic. Do Tipperary have it in the tank to do it? We're going to find out this weekend. I think it's going to be a huge test. And it's going to be a huge test for all these new players. Brian O'Mara will have come across nothing like this in his career. Rowan Connolly for sure. Mark Keogh will never have experienced anything like this, even though they've played against Limerick in the past. But this is a championship match on Sunday and 40,000 people. It's just a different setting.
And Noel, David has said it there, like they'll never have experienced anything like this before. I can't remember the last time there was probably an almost full attendance in Semple Stadium. I'm not sure when it was. It's been a while. It's been a while since Tipperary have played in front of an almost full attendance in FBD Semple Stadium. So this is going to be hopefully one of the games of the year, isn't it?
Well, it has all the potential of being anyway. And we're saying about the new guys there who are coming into a scene and that they're going to experience something that they won't have experienced before. But it's also important to point out that we have Cathal Barrett there, we have Ronan Maher there, we've Bonner Maher there, we've Noel McGrath there. Guys who have experienced that before, and that experience is going to be vital on Sunday. It really is, because when those guys, when the pressure comes on, they're the guys who are going to lead Tip, and you'd hope that the rest of the lads will push in. And then you look at the bench. You have Shamie Callan, John McGrath, two very experienced guys as well who can come in and do a job for you at any time and have done. But I'll say this too, Jonathan, in relation to what Dave was saying about Limerick, the whole Limerick Tip type of thing. Limerick fear Tip as well. I think we shouldn't forget that, because Tip are the one team that have really put it up to them, albeit not over the full 70 minutes, and we got caught with for different circumstances. I go back to that game down in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, and I think if officials had done their job, we would have won that game too. But anyway, that's another question. But Limerick do fear Tip. They have this thing in their head that Tip are the team that have been able to put it up to them. I'm working down there. I hear it all the time these days. The Tip are the team that are able to put it up to them, and if they get a run on them, that they can finish them out. We haven't done it yet, but as the lad said, this is the day to do it.
But also, Noel, I just think it's the first time there's been a few question marks over this Limerick team for the last number of years, and it's how they're going to respond to that. Like, there was question marks, the Waterford performance, the Clare performance the last day. it's very quiet down there, albeit there's rumours, which rumours happen to come out of everywhere. You don't know what to believe and what not to believe. But there's question marks being asked because they were held up there as one of the greatest teams of all times. And now they're starting to question a number of the players around what's going on there. Is Declan Hannon injured? Like, that hasn't happened for the last number of years. So it'll be interesting to see how they respond. I hope to God there's not a huge bounce back on them. But I think there has been question marks as to this Limerick team for the first time in a long time.
Yeah, maybe and maybe we should look at some of the potential matchups on Sunday now, given the fact that where we're talking here on it's Thursday evening, we don't have the Limerick team at hand at the moment. But some of the potential matchups, some of the key matchups, the key positions that maybe it can be won for Tipperary, it can be lost for Limerick, and vice versa. Noel, maybe to start off with yourself, I'm sure you have studied this big.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a lot of talk that Kyle Hayes is going to go up to centre forward, and that's going to be a key one. If he does go to centre forward, he brings huge physicality, and we're talking about an open backline. God, if he gets a gap, there won't be much stopping him going through. But what do they do with Cian Lynch then? That's the other question. Where does Cian Lynch go? Hasn't been having the best of form. Hasn't been in the best of form so far this year, but we know what he can do. He could win a match on his own for you. From a Tip perspective, I've no doubt that with the six backs that Liam and the lads have picked there, they're targeting six forwards, and they'll probably follow them no matter where they go. So the matchups are really key. Brian O'Mara at centre back at number 6. Will he sweep? Will Ronan sweep? Who'll pick up Gerard Hegarty? Who'll pick up Kyle Hayes if he's up there? Gillan. Who'll pick up Gillan? Possibly Cathal Barrett. We don't know, but the lads know. And I'm sure that for the last couple of days, this has been drilled into them. This is who you're playing. This is who you're going to be marking. You'll shadow them all the time. And they'll also have a contingency plan for if something is going wrong and switches have to be made or whatever. The two lads would know from being on the sideline too, like that happens, you have to make decisions in a kind of a split second decision type of thing, but you can also have planned for it. And I think they will have done that. In terms of our forwards, we'll be trying to get what we can out of our forwards and trying to play them in the positions that we feel are most advantageous to Tipperary. And I'm sure John Kiley has also looked at the Tip forward line, and he's earmarking what backs he's going to play. So matchups are a huge part of the modern game. I mean, when the two lads were playing with Tip back in 2001, winning the All Ireland, you played in your positions, and that was it. Like, no matter who.
It was a very simple game back then.
It was a simple game, a different game.
Never looked up hitting the ball.
Yeah,
probably a lot.
But just that's how the game is. I know we're going off topic here, but I don't think in 2001 in our time, I say if the ball was hand passed 10 times in the whole game, it'd be the max.
Yeah.
The game has completely changed. And you mentioned Kyle Hayes there. I think he'd be more dangerous as a wing back because he's always on the move forward. He's creating. He's a marauding wing back. Very hard to mark. At least if he's centre forward, he's to be marked. But when he's a wing back, well, Conor or Noel, whoever's in half our line, not only have they to try and win the ball to score, they also have to mark Kyle Hayes. And we've seen the amount of damage he does, marauding up the wing and, creating overlaps and havoc.
And we actually did the last day with Noah McGrath picking out Seamus Kennedy. It was like a tactic we got from Limerick. That was the Kyle Hayes. Our Seamus Kennedy was Kyle Hayes going up the line, getting the 2 or 3 points. Noah McGrath was able to do it. But I think there's going to be a big battle in the middle of the field. Alan Tyne is coming off a great performance last day. Will O'Donoghue he's a match or two from the throw in the last day. So there's going to be a battle there. I do look at the corner forward there, Jake Morris. Jake's not going to be tracking. Like, we have to look at the positives too. We can say we have to track, but like at the end of the day, we have to have scoring forwards up there, and Jake needs to stay inside. I think Bond will probably end up in the edge of the square, but Mark Keogh as well. Like, we're always looking at how we stop them. We have to stop their runners. But like, Mark Keogh came on last and scored 1-4. Like, he got a fantastic goal. So, but sometimes we can be defensive and worried. But like you rightly said, they're looking at matchups here. I probably hope this game it's a stop start and we kill it. It's the throw-ins. I know the public don't want that, but for us to win it, it can't be a free-flowing game. We can't let their backs run. So at times you probably, and I'm sure Liam will, slow it down as much as we can. And go back to the question you asked there at the start of the second half, I think that's happened to us the last number of years, that we just went for it. Sometimes you just have to to turn into a dirty game, kill it for a while, lie down, turn it into a borefest, and then get our momentum going again. But I think we have to do something different when it comes to Limerick.
And I think if we allow Limerick to develop a foothold, it's very hard to dislodge them. I think that's where Waterford fell down. They had no game plan to deal with Limerick, and for the second half it was all route one, launching these big freeze from their own half back, launch them into square, hoping for the best. There was no method to their system, and we Tipp can't afford it. We have whatever plan Tipp have, they have to stay with it. And like this, you have two fantastic full forwards there in Jake and Mark, two big guys, rangy guys who have an eye for goal and getting a score. They have to live in the square. You look at how Aaron Gallan plays the game. He's an example to any full forward. I remember Paddy McBrearty, the Donegal full forward. He would say, what's one of the most important attributes for a full forward in sport, in Gaelic football, and applies to hurling, is patience. Being patient, living in the square, waiting for the one ball that might come every 5 or 6 or 10 minutes. And that's where Aaron Gallan,
Colin Finley for Ballyhale, I watched him the whole time.
Yeah.
He could go 20 minutes without a ball, but by God, he's hanging in the edge of the square the whole time. And but that comes with belief and confidence too, and experience.
Yeah.
And I think Sean Ryan, the first championship game, when you go in there, you tend to travel out, looking for the ball. So I think Jake now has been around a while. He knows if I hang in there, I can nail one or two.
And I think you're talking about matchups. Cahill from last year was under pressure with Aaron Gallan. Aaron Gallan's a huge guy. I don't think people appreciate how big he is. I met him one day in the Horse and Jockey. I didn't realise I was standing beside him because I was looking up at him. I remember Brian McGrath coming on to mark him there last year, the year before. And Brian is a big guy, 6'2", 6'3", and he looked like a chap standing beside Aaron Gallan. And so that is the matchup, whether it's going to be Ronan or Michael or Cahill marking Gallan. If you can keep Gallan out of a game, he scores so much, he creates so much. I think he's the key man in their full forward line. There's key men everywhere, obviously.
For me, it's Cahill Barrett all day, every day. I just think he's so tigerish. He'll get in around because Seamus, what do you call it, is full forward, Seamus Flanagan. I think Michael Breen matchup probably feels the right one there.
Yeah.
Like, he's a big one for Cahill because probably Aaron has got the better of him, but like, I think everyone knows Cahill Barrett. He'll be at home eating thorny wire waiting for this battle, which is great, you know.
Yeah. And I think the other big area is the free count. Like Dermot Burns, does he miss? What does he miss? He's just an incredible free taker, and anything on the 45 in is a score. It's as good as a score now. And you're talking about the weather for Sunday is going to be quite ideal for sport or for hurling. I could imagine like any free he gets now, it's a guaranteed. It's going to go the distance, and 9 times out of 10, 99 times out of 100, it's going to be a score.
And that's a fair point as well, Jonathan, about that David makes there about Dermot Burns, but not only Dermot Burns, also the Limerick half backline and from midfield. The amount of scores that come from distance from Limerick is huge, and it's going to be a good day. There probably won't be too much of a wind around, so that means that our half forward line is going to have to work really hard. In fact, that middle third section, that's where all the battle happens now, really, in the modern game. It's in that middle third to supply the ball for the inside forwards or whatever. But Limerick have this ability to pick off points from way out the field. Now we've shown it too. To be fair, we've shown that too. Alan Tynan getting points. Seamus Kennedy the last day as well. Brian O'Meara is well able to score. Ronan, they're well able to take scores too. But it's going to be vital that we can put the clamp on that Limerick half back line. Declan Hannigan can take points from distance, and when they get points, they lift the whole blooming thing, So it's going to be very important that we can try and tie that down and try and prevent as much scores coming from off that line and off midfield as possible.
I think that you see Bonner Maher playing there on Declan Hannon. I think that's another. Bonner isn't there to score 4 or 5 points. He's there to stop Hannon hurling, and like your centre back is your pivotal player on any team. Like Brian is a pivotal player for us now, and he's going to grow into that position over years. And Hannon is one of the best centre backs, a marquee centre back, and he creates so much and he directs so much. And if Bonner or whoever can keep tabs on him, reduce his possessions to lower than what they have been, it's a positive for Tipp.
Yeah, and another area I would have always looked at in games like this is, the puckouts, the restarts. Do you go long? Do you go short? What kind of tactics, do you think either team are going to put into play here on Sunday, or is it just going to be a mix-up and whatever is best at that opportunity or at that time in the game, or will there be a puck-out strategy from both teams? Obviously, there is a certain element of puck-out strategies, but what, in your view, Eamon, do you think, what strategies do you think either team may have to kind of nullify the other team through the puckouts?
I think at times if you play it as you see it, that in my view on it, like Rhys Shelley's in there. Rhys Shelley can drive the ball into the field, so like he has the distance in it. Barry the last day, his first 1 or 2 puckouts probably caught him where we went, but I remember the last number of years we went short. I don't know what year, we could have been down in Cork, and Limerick just stood off us and made us take the 1 or 2 touches, and they kept backing off, and we had to drive the ball into the field, and they had Hannon sitting back. So it's a tactic we all use as management at the moment. If they go short, don't engage, let them take the 1 or 2 touches, and then they have to break the tackle, and then you swarm them. Limerick are very good at that. They caught us there a few years ago where we went short. I think Cathal Barrett once or twice had taken the touch in the hurley, and the minute they took the touch in the hurley, they swarmed around us. And that's, so I do think we might go short once or twice and see do they engage, but it's back to what I said, you'll have to play it as you see it. Depends on what way the game is going, and if we're winning battles. If we're going toe to toe, it'll probably be, we will put up there. But like we have Garrod O'Connor, like Garrod is he 6'4". Garrod can go, he can win his high ball there. Mark Keogh is strong in the air, but we've lost their half back line. They're animals in the air. So we just that's where Rhys probably may have got the nod over Barry in training. It may be on the puckouts, because like you think as goalies now, how many real top class saves have you to make? Like it's a given that they're going to catch the high ball coming in, but it's the restarts and Quaid inside the goal for Limerick he's brilliant at it. But I think both goalies, you can have all the tactics in the world, but it just depends what the way the game works out.
And David, like from a back's perspective, like, is it better, or would you prefer, or I suppose it's probably different now in today's game than when maybe you were playing for Tipperary, like, but was it the thing when you were playing for Tipp, you were saying in your own head, can you just puck the ball out as far as you can out the field and give me a break?
But Brendan Cummins, it never even entered Brendan Cummins' mind to hit the ball to me, so it just never happened.
The other 5, to be honest.
Oh no. Look, if I was a back line, I'd love to see the ball just being hit long, because it's a 50-50 ball at best, and you're not expected to win it. Just bring it to ground, and away it goes. The next phase of play goes on. I'm looking at the Tipp half forward line. There's not big ball winners in the sky there, like Noel and Patrick and Connor. They're not going to be catching too many ball over the half back line. So I think Tipp are going to have to do something different with their puckouts, whether they go lobbing it over and trying to get into the full forward line onto the edge of the D. That might be a tactic, but otherwise they're going to have to try and work it out. Last year, that tactic just didn't work for Tipperary at all. We've seen them here in the stadium getting ate alive. We got eaten alive on our own quick restarts where we're hitting the ball out to the cornerback. It was almost a disadvantage to us. So I don't know. As Eamon says, you play it as you see it. I think safety first. Don't just keep it simple. The more time that ball spends in the Limerick full back line, the better, away from our own goal, and make Limerick work it out. You're always taking a chance hitting sharp puckouts out of the half back line. If it gets turned over, it's a score for the opposition. That's just the way it goes. So I reckon it'll be route one most of the day. Keep it simple, keep it safe. But who are we to know? We're not the ones planning for Sunday.
Yeah, like, I mean, if you look at the Cork game, quite a lot of ball went in to where Sean Ryan was, and his touch was slightly off, and he had 2 men in front of him and he was probably coming out a little bit too far as well. But that might give you some kind of an indication as to the way Tipp are thinking, that if you can get the ball, if you're taking your pass off of let's say your cornerback or your wing back, and they're delivering, to try and get it over the opposing half back line, because if you don't get it over Dermot Burns and Declan Hannon and these guys and Kyle Hayes, they'll just mop it up. But if you can get it past them, then you're in, as David says, you're playing, or as Damon says, you're playing the game in their full back line then, and you're hoping that the guys inside can do the damage. The likes of the Jake Morrises and Mark Keoghs, the assassins, they're the ones that you want to have the ball, But it's funny the way the game has gone. Like, a goalkeeper who can block a ball is nearly like a bonus in the modern game, because no other player on the field gets 25, 30 free pucks out of his hand, So the restarts are so important. And as Eamon says, it'll probably be a case of suck 'em and see, whatever way the game is working out. If you're getting joy with a long ball, well, then you'll keep using the long ball. And if you're not, and you have to go short or go, half back line or whatever, you'll do that. And I think in Rhys Shelley we have a good man to do that.
I think that what you're trying to do the whole time in your over team, you'd love to get your ball to the 5 or 7 because you're getting to the half back line that can deliver over the far half back line. It's when you're clearing from a full back line, you're probably most cornerbacks reaching the other half back line. So it's to get a great puck out is to a 5 or a 7 because that's the launching pad. That's in the range where you're going to land the other full forward line. So I think that's what they're going to go after. But all teams go after that now.
Okay, well, look at we've decided, we've dissected it, as they say. We went through it all. It's looking forward to it now. Looking forward to a massive crowd in FBD Simple Stadium on Sunday. And just to finish on the hurling, Noel, what's going to be the headline in the View column next week?
Well, I think, Jonathan, that you're probably going to have something along the lines of it being a tremendous game for starters. I think we have the potential of a brilliant game here. I think Limerick are going to come with a real challenge to Tipp. They've had 3 weeks off. They have the bit between their teeth. They're coming off a championship loss for the first time since God knows when. It was 17, was it? Or
It was 19.
19, was it? Yeah. So they're going to come with a massive challenge. And I think if Tipp can get over Limerick, we're going to be in a brilliant place. Not just for the Munster Championship, but for the season. But I think we will be up against it, being perfectly honest.
So the headline is going to be, Noel?
The headline is going to be that we're still in the championship. That's the bottom line. We're still in the championship. Even win or lose, we're still in this championship and we'll still be alive.
Perfect. Well, as I said, we look forward to a fantastic game in FBD Simple Stadium on Sunday. If you're lucky enough to have a ticket, get there in time. Get there early. The footballers obviously welcoming down here at 1:45 in the Talton Cup. That's a big game for the Tipperary footballers as well. They're hoping to, get back to winning ways. And while we speak about the footballers, of course, since we last had our Tipp GAA TV programme, there was obviously some sadness in Tipperary GAA in football circles with the passing of Miriam Power, David's mum, and of course former treasurer and current president of the Munster Council, Michael Power's wife. And we in Tipperary GAA TV and in Tipperary GAA, we extend our sympathies to the Power family. It has been a tough time. I've had the pleasure of meeting Miriam a couple of times, and she was an absolutely lovely woman, a fantastically nice, genuine, sincere lady, and her passing will be sorely felt by the Power family, and so we extend our sympathies to the lads at this time as well. And David, maybe just a quick one for yourself on the football. I'd be afraid maybe to ask Eamon about football, but
They're a dual club now.
yeah, well, we know that, but we're not sure whether Eamon is a jewel.
Oh, yeah. I think Eamon is actually a better footballer than hurler. He was kind of hiding in the closet there for a long time. He's a secret fan of it, actually.
Footballer, yeah.
A closet footballer, yeah.
Let's answer the question, David, will you?
For the footballers, it's been tough. It's been a tough league, and championship while we did obviously get a win over Waterford. Kerry was a tough game, and heading up to Meath then to play Meath didn't go according to plan. We need a win. Tipperary need a win for themselves, for the players, players' own point of view. They need a win to get that confidence and get that morale back, don't they? And that belief,
Absolutely, because it's been a very tough season for the Tipp footballers. I've seen some of their games here in town, and they've a lot of talent there. I think there's an awful lot of talent out there that's not coming forward either. But that's another conversation. And they're playing in front of a big home crowd on Sunday, which will add a bit of flavour to it as well. And I've seen up in the Ulster Championship, really good team. Probably are disappointed that they didn't progress further into provincial championship. And of course, they're going to be overwhelming favourites coming down here on Sunday for this Talton Cup. Probably feel they should not be in the competition as well, but they're going to try and make the most of it. Looking at the Meath performance last week, it was quite flat. It didn't really get a gallop going. Maybe there's a lack of belief going up to Talton Park, knowing we're up against it. And but anything can happen in a championship like this, where when Tipp footballer gets going, it kind of tends to go on a roll either way. You're hoping maybe on Sunday. I think there is a performance in the team, but it's just a matter of getting it out of them.
Yeah, and of course, Noel, just yourself as well on it. Stephen O'Brien, a huge loss. Stephen O'Brien, and he's been so unlucky and so unfortunate with injury. I think before he got the injury, the injury that's put him out of the next couple of games, maybe perhaps in Navan. He actually dislocated his finger twice in the first half, so that just shows the level of unlook that man has just had,
Yeah, it's been incredible, and if you go back over the last couple of seasons, he's picked up quite a bit of injury, quite a few injuries, and they haven't been simple ones. They've been ones that keep him out for 5 weeks here, 6 weeks, more even. Very unlucky, and he's one of our big men, particularly when you consider that Conor Sweeney is gone as well. Yeah. Our two standout forwards, really. But look, you'd love to think that the Tipperary supporters will come in early and be there for the footballers and try and cheer them on, because that can make a huge difference. We saw what it was like in Páirc Uí Chaoimh with the huge support that the Cork hurlers had. We were outnumbered quite a lot, so we have an opportunity now to outnumber down, surely. So please God, the Tip people will come out and cheer on the team, because they deserve it. They work as hard as the hurlers in training. They put in as much effort into it, but they just haven't had that run,
Yeah, and we wish him the very, very best of luck on Sunday as well. And just to finish, Eamon, we spoke the last day. We looked a little bit at the Camogie and the Munster final with Tipp and Clare. I'd say lots of smiles around Borrisolee this week, anyway.
Yeah, Dennis was excited as he always is, but we were actually only talking previously. It was the first trophy in 13 years. There was huge excitement. If we look back 12 months ago, we actually lost to Clare, and we bet them by 17 points, albeit we bet them well in the league. But I was just saying previously to the guys, I think the big change this year, Karen Kennedy in a centre back, and she's been absolutely fantastic. Caught the van in there for the forward, she's really, I think that's the first trophy. It was great for Cork. She's been, how long has she playing Camogie with Tipperary? But Tipperary Camogie, it's in a great place at the moment, and there's great credit due to Dennis and the backroom team. They're very fit. They're playing a great brand. They're creating goal chances, and I think we all saw just the excitement afterwards to bring the trophy. I think they're going into championship now. With the win behind them, great confidence. And I just listened to Carter Van the last day, and as someone asked her a question, she just said, we're really enjoying our Camogie. And if you're enjoying sport or whatever you're doing, there's something right with the backroom team, with the team itself, with morale. So you know what, Camogie's in a great place at the moment at Tipperary.
Absolutely, and we congratulate them again, and we wish them the very, very best of luck as well in the All-Ireland series in the Camogie Championship. So that's it. I think we've given it a good coverage. We look forward, as I said, to what I think will be one of the games, if not the game of the championship on Sunday here in FBD Simple Stadium. As we said, if you're lucky enough to have a ticket, get there in time. You've paid for your tickets. Get value for your money. Come and support the footballers as well. Give them the support that they need and they deserve. And hopefully we'll make it 2 out of 2 for Tipperary here on FPD Simple Stadium on Sunday. So that's it for now. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we look forward to talking to you ahead of Waterford next weekend. So until then, from Tipp GAA TV, thank you and goodbye.